Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Oh, well, hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 560 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And dear people, this week, I've got a guest I've always wanted to have on, the illustriously spectacular Captain Sensible of the Damned. And coming up is their final Damnation tour of Australia. According to Cap, sounds like it's the last time they'll be here. I hope it isn't, but I'm not taking any chances, and neither should you, especially if you're in Sydney. They're playing the goddamn Sydney Opera House, and it's nearly sold out. What a mind trip. So they're also hitting Melbourne, Brisbane, Auckland. So get your tickets, thephoenix.au, and I hope to see you there. And today, the Captain talks all about his records, what he still spins, memories of the early releases. He talks about Brian James, what would have happened had Brian kept living. Of course, the loving tribute the band recorded for him. We talk Machine Gun Etiquette, the Smellable Strawberries record, how the Damned nearly got Syd Barrett to produce the Music for Pleasure LP. Cap talks about his creative bond with Dave Vanian, and so much more. Captain is his affable, talkable, lovable self. I think everyone will enjoy this one. And real quick, follow this podcast if you ain't already. We've had hundreds of interviews talking music, records, and more with folks like Rat Scabies himself, joined us episode 247. Peter Hook of Joy Division, episode 553. Tales of the Ramones with Monty A. Melnick, episode 530. Mike Watt sharing tales of the period he played with Iggy and the Stooges, episode 527. Even Raymond Pettibon, episode 521, and literally hundreds more. Follow, download, listen anytime. And if you're feeling doshed up a bit, want to give some love to the show and your buddy Nate here, just go to patreon.com/vinyl guide, and that's where our digital tip jar is. All righty, Miss Molly, let's talk to Captain Sensible on what may be the final lap of the Damned. Hey, mate, I hear we're going to talk about records for about 45 minutes.
Okay. Excellent.
Captain.
I like records.
Hey, that's fine. You're a bit of a record nerd?
Yeah.
Excellent. What do you got? You got, you still got a big collection there?
Oh, yeah. I still got I still play the same records that I loved when I was, a youngster.
Oh, okay.
Like Brian Always Oblivion Express and the Groundhogs, the Pretty Things, Moody Blues, Small Faces, Edgar Broughton, all that stuff. Even the Bee Gees' first album, I really love. That's a classic.
Classics? Did you grow up in a musical household, there, Cap?
Well, my dad used to drink. He used to sing when he come back from the pub, which was quite entertaining. And they were just all pub singers, really.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of carried that on only, in a band, really.
Mm-hmm. What records shaped you more than others?
Well, I could, when I was doing a paper round and, money was, scarce and I was saving up for records, you had to kind of carefully choose the records to buy because you could only, get one every month or two. So these records, I played them to bits, over and over and over. And, so I analysed every note with, which became my kind of musical brain. So when I listen to a song like I'm a Moody Guy by Shane Fenton and the Fentones, who later became Alvin Stardust, I mean, I know every nuance and, I could even talk about the reverbs and echoes that they're using. I mean, it's all sort of, my brain analysed every little bit of that. And so when I go in a studio nowadays, the stuff that I absorbed when I was a youngster, I'll talk to the engineer about, recreating this sound or whatever. And of course, these young engineers don't know who Alvin Stardust is or Shane Fenton or anything like that. So you have to play them on the record and they go, oh, right, okay. So stuff like that. And the Joe Meek sound really got me as well. I bought Telstar when it came out in 62 or 60, something like that. Anyway, that had a big effect on me, that single, because nothing sounded like that before or since even, the Joe Meek sound was kind of really special. He was the British Phil Spector.
Yeah. He had a little tiny studio built in an apartment, I think. I seem to recall that.
Yeah, above a shop in Holloway Road. Yeah, there's a blue plaque on the wall now.
All custom gear, I think. Yeah, he made it himself, I think.
Yeah, the same as they did in the Motown studio. I've done that tour a couple of times. In Detroit, Hitsville USA, I think they call it. And you can go around and see all the amplifiers are still there in the room where they record all these incredible songs. By the Supremes and the Four Tops and Temptations and all that stuff. And it's just magical walking in the same room, and you think, right, well, because so much of it was placing of like sort of just a handful of microphones. And they managed to, they perfected this incredible sound that the Dam did a track on an album about 10 years ago called Sonar Deceit, and that was our tribute to Motown. But funnily enough, the song lyric I wrote after a plane journey back from I think it was Perth to Heathrow in London. And I found myself sitting next to this marine biologist, this university professor, and he told me about the reason why whales and dolphins so often dump themselves on beaches and kind of strand themselves in a kind of suicidal thing, So anyway, that's what I wrote the lyric about.
Oh, why do they do that? What was the reason?
Well, his theory was it was a military sonar, it deafens them, and the daft war games that they play, at great expense, it kills these, it destroys the eardrums of the poor older marine animals. So there you go.
Oh, dear.
That was his theory. So I wrote a song about it.
Okay. Would you say you have like perfect pitch or the ability to just remember melodies like a bank vault?
Yes. I don't know about perfect pitch. There's nothing perfect about what I do, but I do have this crazy kind of capacity to rehash a song on like sort of maybe a couple of hearings. I used to do this thing on radio. I used to do a late night radio show as a guest in Manchester, and you get people to phone in, and I'd say, like, they had a piano in the studio. I said, I can play you any song that's, from the charts in the last, 30, 40 years. I'll give you a verse and a chorus of it. And people, and if I can't, I'll put 20 quid to charity. So these people were ringing up with, all these like, challenges, things like MacArthur Park, and songs that are quite difficult. So I had like sort of, I'd play a record, and then after that while the record was playing, I'd get 3 minutes to kind of try and knock up my daft version of these tunes, and I found that really really exciting. It was a challenge for myself, really.
Didn't have to pay that 20 quid that often then, huh?
A couple of times, yeah.
So the first time you were on vinyl record, was that New Rose, your first recording, available on record?
Yes, it was. I think it did. It come out before the album, or Damn Damn Damned,
I think
or
it
was the
did.
album?
I think it did because it was the first single that, of the UK punk, I believe. Yeah. I believe that was
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we were in this kind of mad rush with the Clash and the Pistols, and of course they were waiting for some big label to come along, waving like sort of big wads of money. And we signed with Stiff Records. I think they bought us a cheeseburger. So that was how they enticed us. We were so skint and so bloody starving that anyway, that's how we beat the Pistols,
yeah.
which upset Malcolm McLaren no end, which pleases me.
How did that manifest? How did his frustration manifest?
Oh no, well, because Malcolm always claimed that he invented everything and did everything first, but he just didn't, did he? We did.
Yeah.
So, but we do gigs with the Pistols and Johnny occasionally. It's like we laugh about the old days. I mean, and we're still getting away with it now. That's the amazing thing.
Isn't that amazing? Because we're going to see you at the Sydney Opera House, and that's a pretty wild career arc, considering where it all started from in the early days. Yeah.
Well, yeah, these are the sort of venues that used to ban us.
Yeah.
I mean, for a considerable period of time as well. We were still getting like sort of unpleasant letters from the Royal Albert Hall, into the 80s, and they said they're not the sort of band we want sullying our stage and stuff like that. Eventually, if you live long enough, you do get in there, and you can sully the stages like the Sydney Opera House, and which is going to be kind of fun, really, because we're not going to curb our natural tendencies to chaos and like sort of. It will be a proper damn show. But it tickles me really to think that scum like us is allowed to play these prestigious venues.
Have you ever had a member of the royal family or Parliament or anyone that made themselves known as a fan of your work?
Oh no. That has never happened. No, it's like I think they would. I mean, a couple of footballers like us, and Damon Hill, the Formula One driver, he liked the Damned.
Well, I'll bet you got a decent chance of getting the Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese. I saw him at a Radio Birdman show. I don't know. There's a non-zero chance he'll show up.
Oh right. Well, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah. So here on the podcast, we talk about collectible records and things like that. And obviously New Rose is a very collectible record, as well as Damn, Damn, Damned, that image of Eddie and the Hot Rods on the back. How much involvement did the band have with the covers or the pressings when you were on Stiff Records?
The art department was downstairs in the basement, and we'd go down, and Barney Bubbles would be down there, and yeah. So I mean, we didn't have much involvement with the cover of the first album, where we turned up to the studio, and the photographer's there with a couple of assistants. And they had all these cream cakes and gunge and stuff, which they just chucked all over us. And I mean, it's a pretty gruesome cover. I mean, you can't see my face properly, and I was really upset because I promised. I said to my auntie, in Glasgow, I said, one day I'm going to make a record, auntie, and I wanted to show her that. And of course, you can't see really my face for the gunge and crap that they slapped on it. So I went and I made sure I went down to the photo booth in Paddington Station, and I got some passport photographs, and I got Barney to slip one on the back cover,
Oh,
so
that's
that
the
you can actually
monitor?
see.
The one on the monitor?
Yeah, on the monitor, so I could show my Auntie Sadie and say, "Look, Auntie, I did make a record. I told you I would."
The record, you can't see you on the front cover, and then the first pressing had a totally different band on the back.
Yeah, that's instant kind of collector's items. So
Yeah.
I think the label boss had a suitcase full of them under his bed for a rainy day.
Oh, yeah. He's bought himself a boat on those. Those are very collectible. Does it surprise you that punk is now so collectible and so revered?
Is it? Blimey, I've no idea. You see, I collect records, but I don't collect punk records. I'm still after like sort of pristine copies of, Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues, or the Pretty Things and the Groundhogs. So they're the records that I go for. I mean, the Lollipop Shop,
Oh, yeah.
people like that. So we did a covers album last year with a bunch of these tracks on that we put. They were all Brian James, our original guitarist, unfortunately passed away, and we put together a bunch of his favorite tunes and did covers of them. People like the Kinks and the Animals and the Lollipop Shop, and even a Pink Floyd song, "See Emily Play," we had a go at, and we knocked these up in a kind of a frantic 5 day session, and just a band sort of like playing garage punk versions of these songs, and it scrubbed up quite well.
Yeah.
It's called "I'm Not Like Everybody Else," that album.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace, Brian. And I know there was the victory lap you guys were doing in the UK with the original lineup. If Brian was still with us, do you think there was more petrol in the tank for additional shows and activities with Brian?
That was the mistake we made, was only doing those 5 British shows, because which I suppose, well, everyone was kind of nervous about putting in too many shows, because there was such a volatile history of the band that the tour might have imploded, and everything might have gone like sort of pear shaped. But it didn't. We found we were all like sort of great chums again by the end of the 5 days, and we were talking about doing more, and then Brian passed, and so thank God we did them while we could. Really, is what I say. And we recorded them as well. So there's really gnarled versions of those gigs out there somewhere.
Oh, so do you think we'll get like a package at some point, a release of the final gigs?
I don't know. I think they just they sold them to people on the night, just instant mixes.
Oh,
So that sort of thing. So I don't know if they'll get a re-release, but it sounds really garagey and fun, and we certainly recreated that first album. All the kind of the garage vibe, and the energy was still there. It was fantastic. We haven't learned to play our instruments so well that we sound polished. I'd hate someone to say, "Oh, the Damned were quite polished last night." That I love the fact that it's unchoreographed, and it's still the element of danger and chaos is there. So when we do a show, you never really know. We don't know, how it's going to go, because we kind of we change it every night, really.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have a set list. It varies. There's a few bookends.
We do, but
yeah.
Yeah, we do have a set list. There's certain songs that we kind of have to play, but we play them a little bit different every night. Especially with Rat Scabies sitting behind the drum kit. He really jams it up, which keeps us on our toes.
Yeah. We saw you last time you were in town, and everyone still got it, but being behind a drum kit is a lot of work, and he was smashing it. So, well done to him, man.
Yeah, it's very powerful. You know, his right foot, his bass drum. Often people think that he's got a double bass drum kit, you know, but it's just one foot, and it's like, you know, he really goes for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, are there a cache of damned tracks that haven't been released yet? Stuff that I don't know, outtakes or something that's saving for a rainy day?
I don't think there are. I think, you know, we were with labels for short periods of time because of our unruly behaviour, probably. So, I mean, we only made two albums maximum per label. Most of them was like single albums, and when you know the damages and all the rest of it and the chaos and when you leave a label, if any demos and stuff like that they've got that they can bung out to recoup money that they feel, you know, the band has kind of left them with a debt or whatever, it's generally released. I think Chiswick Records certainly bunged out a load of stuff, which I would have probably preferred not to have been. Yeah, but no, I don't think there's any hidden gems out there, really.
Okay. Do you guys control most of your catalog? Like if there's a reissue of Machine Gun Etiquette or Strawberries, is that from you guys, or is it still being owned by a different label?
God knows who owns it. I've no idea.
Mm-hmm.
No idea. It's you know, publisher. It all changes hands. It all ends up with the same big conglomerates. I don't know. You know, I think once you make a record, it ceases to belong to you. You know, they do what they want with it. You know, it could end up on an advertisement for, I don't know, something you probably didn't really approve of, like a
deodorant ad.
But yeah, Burger King or something.
Smash it up for smash burgers or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Kerching.
One of the most brilliant, I think, record moves I've heard of and actually smelled is Strawberries. The album that came with a scent of strawberries inside. Is that something that came from the band, or where did that idea come from?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because we would get the band were. I mean, obviously, originally like sort of, you know, a fairly frantic punk band, and we were kind of going on this musical adventure. And Dave was bringing much darker material to the table, and the band's sound was evolving, and eventually went through the goth thing, and we've added like psych elements, and so we were going on this musical journey, and some of the music press were giving us a hard time for that. And we recorded an album. We said, what are we going to call the album? And I think Rat Scabies, it sounds like the sort of person who would come up with this. And said it'd be like giving strawberries to a pig, you know. So we abbreviated that to Strawberries, but that was the meaning behind the name. And then we thought, well, you know, what should we do for the cover? So we thought, well, we will give strawberries to a real pig. So we went to this, you know, this farm and gave a pig like a whole load of strawberries and just like took pictures of it. So which the pig enjoyed, you know. Then the next idea obviously was the insert with the strawberry scent all over it. Some people say that their album still smells of strawberries all these years later. So.
Yeah, when I go to a record store, I'm like, okay, let's smell each of these records. I want to see if it still has it.
Yeah. Old records do have a smell to them, don't they?
Yeah, it's generally not strawberries.
Yeah, generally not.
When you go into a record store, Cap, what are you looking for? Do you look at the wall? Do you look at new arrivals? Kind of what do you do?
Well, I feel so lucky to have been, a fan and involved in, the music game in a golden time, really, when a record, had a beautiful cover that, you could hold in your hands and admire the sleeve art and read the liner notes and all the rest of it, and then take home this physical thing, that you could hold under your hand, under your arm, and walk around, showing off, which you can't really do with an MP3 or whatever, or a stream or whatever it is these days. Yeah, it was just, and record labels would put you in a studio, and you get to make the album that you wanted to make, not the one they wanted sometimes, but you could just go on this journey of experimentation. I'm not sure what it is anymore, but I just feel lucky to have been involved when you know it was just like sort of a magic time, really. And the records that I've got at home, you know, I go through them occasionally, just marvel at the beauty of the artwork, and I get this like sort of nostalgic buzz from listening to them, which is adds another element. Really, I still love Alvin Stardust and T Rex and all that. The Kinks, the Move, the Who. Yeah, fantastic.
So you still go to record stores? You still?
Yeah, yeah. Most towns in Britain have got one. Yeah, so you try and find better versions of the records that you scratched when you come back from the pub and ruined. So you just try to find a pristine kind of first edition of stuff like that.
Oh, so you like
pretty.
first editions and things like that. That's kind of the next level of collector. You first editions or test pressings or white label promos. Those interest you?
Yeah, yeah. Now I've got a bit more dosh to kind of squander. Yeah, so I try and find posher versions, really, and so I still got the same records, only like sort of nicer copies of them.
Oh, what's on your shopping list? What's your holy grail that you're looking for?
Well, the thing is, if I go in a record shop and I see a record, that I've already got at home, but it's like there's something compels me to buy it again. I don't know why that is, really. But it's in case I come home from the pub and scratch the other one, I suppose. Uh, I should be more careful, but or drink less. But there you go. I'm Captain Sensible, and the name is ironic.
Well, there's some records that I'll buy. I find them like orphans, records that I really, really love. And if I find it cheap enough, I'll buy a copy so I could give it to a friend, like a prescription, right?
Yes, I get that. Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
People, I mean, a lot of people don't know some of these fantastic old records,
Yeah. So do you have anything you're looking for these days? Anything you want to add to your collection? Anything special?
I would like, yeah, I'd like to find some nice copies of the Cowsills albums, which didn't get releases in Britain. So they made 4 albums. The Cowsills?
I do. Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
so.
they were the kind of they were the band that became were a TV studio turned into the Partridge Family. But the Cowsills were they were going to be the people who the show was based on, and some daft TV executive said, "Oh, I'm not sure they're handsome enough for our TV show. We just get some actors to do it instead, So they auditioned for blah blah blah, and that became the Partridge Family. Anyway, but the Cowsills were a real family, and they were kind of, musical geniuses, and they created these 4 incredible kind of harmony psych pop albums, which are absolutely beautiful and like full of like sort of great ideas and stuff. from this golden age at the end of the end of the 60s, when everything had gone a bit psychedelic. And anyway, they're the albums that I'll be looking for when I go back to the States.
Oh, okay. Well, you've now opened up a quest. If you're playing the Sydney Opera House and a Cowsills album flies up there, you know who it's from now.
Well, they probably didn't have it on Australia either. It was an American thing, but
yeah,
or maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, we get all sorts of different records. So you excited about coming back to Australia? It's Sydney Opera House. You're going to also, where are you going? Brisbane. You're going to be in New Zealand. Sounds like a whirlwind tour, playing some of the most prestigious locations we have down under.
Yeah, no, it's places that it's really, the Opera House is the mind boggles really. But no, I mean it's probably the last big. Well, I think it is the last big tour we'll ever do. So it might be the last time we visit Australia. But because I mean the touring is quite exhausting really when you get to a certain age. The gigs, the gigs are great fun, but the schlepping around in like airports and stuff like that, it's just it's knackering these days. I mean, flying is not a great experience anyway. All the security nonsense and everything.
Any unfinished business you have? I mean, after everything, the hits, the reunions, the reissues, what's still on your bucket list, Cap?
I still I mean, going back to kind of the classic records that I've got, the Pet Sounds and Revolver and Days of Future Past. These are perfect records. Tommy by the Who. I mean, I always judge us unfairly, really, because we're not on that level. But I always judge us against these records, these absolute classic albums. And I still want to make the perfect album. I still think there's like time yet to do it. So that every time we go back in the studio, that's what I try to do. I try to make absolute bloody classic album. Where there's absolutely no filler whatsoever, and and the album is designed and sequenced so that you start at the start of the album and you listen to in the order in which the songs are placed. We spend an inordinate amount of time getting those sequencing of the tracks kind of right so that they flow, it takes you on a little journey. And by the end of the album, you put, if you're listening on headphones, you take them off, you go, wow, that was quite a trip, quite a mind trip. This is what I try to do. So that's the unfinished business. I got this. We did this track not so long ago called Dark Asteroid. It was on one of the more recent albums. Dark Asteroid. It was a tribute to Syd Barrett, of all people. It was a big influence. And the song itself, the tune, finishes after about 2.5, 3 minutes. And then there's a brief gap of silence. And then it goes into this almighty jam that lasts for like sort of, about 12 minutes. It's a complete wig out, we're absolutely freaking out in the studio doing this kind of mind-bending psychedelic jam, aided and abetted by a few hash cakes, I have to say. And that was that's one of those headphone things that you take every time I listen to it, and I hope the audience as well, the people who've got the album at home, when they hear this track called Dark Asteroid, it's my tip for anyone listening to your broadcast. Just listen to it on headphones, and after like sort of the 14, 15 minutes, you'll go, blimey, he was right. That was a total mind trip. you know. So I was really pleased with it, the way that one turned out, you know.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, look, I reckon you've made a couple albums that are about as close to perfection as you can get. So, yeah, I'll take a fourth and a fifth one too if you got them in you. But you brought up Syd Barrett, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys tried to get Syd to produce music for pleasure. Is that right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, yeah. And it nearly happened as well because we, strangely enough, had the same music publisher as Pink Floyd. And they were all kind of a bit embarrassed, I guess, because, they'd gone on to become like sort of a huge mega stadium million
Mm-hmm.
million pound band. And without their former leader, Syd Barrett, who was sitting at home in Cambridge twiddling his thumbs, or well, he was actually painting, but he turned his back on the music scene. So, but they were all a bit embarrassed about how much money they were making and how Syd was not working. So, when we asked them, we said, "What's Syd doing? Do you think he'd produce our album?" They actually asked Syd, who said, "Well, yeah, I'll do that." So we were booked into the Pink Floyd's own studio, Britannia Row it was called, in Islington, and we set up the drums and all the equipment and everything. And we were expecting Syd Barrett to turn up at any time. We're all like really excited, and the door buzzer went, and we heard footsteps in the corridor, and we thought, bloody hell, he's here. He's our dream of making a psychedelic punk album, will happen. And the door opened, and it was Nick Mason, the drummer. He said, "Really sorry, guys." Syd said, he sends his apologies, and he says he's not really kind of, in the right frame of mind to do this. And do you think I could twiddle the knobs and do the job myself? So we ended up with Nick Mason producing the album, which was interesting, but not quite the same.
Was he familiar with The Damned at that point?
I'm not sure he was, but he got to find out because we were still pretty full on at the time, and so he was basically making an album with a punk group who were kind of imploding, and we were just about to split up. So that can't have been, the greatest of experiences for him, But he pulled it together, and we did make this album. It didn't sound too bad, but it would have been better with Syd, and because we really had this idea that punk and psychedelia could be a magic combination, and which we kind of had to hold on until the third album to actually fulfill with Machine Gun Etiquette, and that became the album. We produced it as if it had been produced by Syd Barrett, and we did all sorts of experimentation on that. We found a mellotron, sitting in the corner of the studio with a tarpaulin on it. We said, "Oh, what's this?" And that became, the basis of a couple of tunes. I Just Can't Be Happy Today came out of that session.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there's a couple of kind of wild jams on that album that are quite fun.
How much material of Machine Gun Etiquette was written before you went in the studio?
About half of it, I guess. Yeah, about half of it, and but most of it came together, as band kind of collaborations. Yeah, it was just a fairly intense. I mean, I was sleeping on the floor of the studio. I didn't bother going home. I just, and it was an old converted church, Wessex Studios. We recorded that in, and so it was haunted. And I was like sort of in this sleeping bag on the studio floor. and lights kept turning on and off, and I was the only bloody person in there as well, and I'd hear noises in the kitchen, at the end of the studio, and there was nobody there except me. So yeah, that was pretty freaky.
Yeah, one of the things I always love about your work is it's you continually push the envelope, try new things. Obviously, the distance between Damn Damn Damned and Machine Gun Etiquette, then to Curtain Call, then beyond. It's refreshing to see an artist continue to grow and push themselves and try new things on.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, every album, it's an unwritten rule, is every album must be different, from the preceding one.
Mm-hmm.
And the recent covers album, I'm Not Like Everybody Else, that was certainly different. So there's some cracking tunes on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Darkadelic.
so yeah, Darkadelic. Yeah, it's quite cinematic in places. Some of Dave's songs are quite, big soundscapes. Like sort of almost, like film soundtracky. That's the way Dave sees. He describes kind of sound textures and that in visual terms. It's quite interesting working with him in the studio because he doesn't say, I want a flattened fifth chord or whatever. He'll say, sort of, stroke his chin and say, I think we'll go a bit Bondy on this one.
Yeah, he's your artistic soulmate. I picture you guys. There was a story I heard about the Marx Brothers. When they're older and more sophisticated, and Groucho would call Chico every day just to check in. I always imagine you and Dave are like that.
Yeah, well, Dave's an interesting character because the fans don't really know the real Dave. He's got more, from. I mean, I'm the kind of the happy captain spreading joy and happiness wherever I go, and people consider that Dave's the kind of dark lord, in his gothic basement, with the curtains drawn and like the candles lit and there's cobwebs and stuff. But he's actually quite a funny guy, He's a great mimic and does like sort of old actors and comedians. He does them really well. I hear it something. We wear in-ear monitors on stage, and the little quips and stuff he'll come up with between songs. I mean, I understand where he's coming from because of being of a certain age. So he's doing Tommy Cooper or or Kenneth Williams or these old comedians, and he does them really well. And stuff like that. So yeah, we're on the same page there. He does make me laugh.
Well, Cap, you've been very generous with your time, and I really appreciate you talking records with us here. I want to remind people the Damned, the Final Damnation 50th anniversary tour. Tickets are on sale now. They're I think some of them are starting to have sold out or are about to sell out. So if you're in Auckland, Sydney, Brisbane, or Melbourne, go to thephoenix.com and secure your tickets, especially in Sydney, September 10th at the Opera House. I can't believe it. It's going to be an amazing show. And you guys are going to do that set of shows here and hopefully then head back and do your perfect album or yet another one. If that's possible.
yeah. Come and see the Damned. It may be the last time we visit Australia, and I'll leave you with this one. If you like, not everyone does, but if you like concept albums, go and check out the original. The one that Pete Townsend stole the concept for Tommy for, or the idea of like doing a concept album for. It was SF Sorrow by the Pretty Things is the greatest concept album and the original, and it's just absolute genius. SF Sorrow by the Pretty Things. There's Captain Sensible's top tip for the day.
Hey, is Captain Sensible an audiophile? Do you go for like the audiophile pressings and things like that?
I don't know what that is. What's audiophile?
Audiophile, like the really high quality. Like you mentioned Pet Sounds, and they just did this Pet Sounds one step that is supposed to be like the best way to be able to hear it on record.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I've no idea.
Yeah.
I've only got one set of ears, though. I don't get surround sound.
It's not surround sound. It's just, you know how records are pressed, they do the mother, the father, the stampers, all that stuff. This is a one step, so you forego a lot of that generational loss. But there's very few that they could press. They can't do 20,000. They can only do 1,000 or 5,000 or something. So it's a limited number. Wow. They're not that cheap. They're about $100 each. But the newest version of Pet Sounds is out there. They've got Who's Next now on these one steps. That is, I think, the ultimate way to be able to enjoy some of these records.
Yeah, so you got kind of wasted really on Damn, does it? Because the more gnarled and kind of,
Oh, believe me, I'd love a Machine Gun Etiquette one step. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's got a sound all of its own. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Cap, you be well, travel safe, and we'll see you down under, mate.
Cheers. Nice to talk to you.
Okay. Take care. Cheers. Lovely guy. I've always wanted to have him on the show, and he's just as great, if not better, than I imagined him to be. Now, I've seen The Damned many times. Of course, in recent years, they still got it. They're killing it out there. They give it their all. I highly encourage folks, especially if you're in Australia, see these shows. Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Auckland, New Zealand. The tickets are at thephoenix.au. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who's sharing these episodes on social media, putting them on Facebook and Reddit forums and all the groups and all that good stuff. That is certainly appreciated. And those of you who are leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and especially those of you who are patrons at patreon.com/Vinyl Guide. That is so helpful. Thank you in advance if you're considering it. Please give it a go, patreon.com/Vinyl Guide. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves. And thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.